What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the House of Holocrons, episode number 81. We've had some big things happen recently in the Star Wars world, so of course we were able to really get together and really make up for something for a podcast, get you guys this fun hour-long thought as we are going to be covering today. Not really too many announcements, of course, not too many new things. Outlaws comes out next week, so that'll be a big thing.
Yeah.
But we were also going to be really talking about the cancellations of, and it's still a rumor, but it's a strong one at this point, I would believe. Cancellation of
Yeah.
season two. No further goings for the Acolyte, and cancellation is a strong word because it was never greenlit for season two anyway, but definitely shelved per se. We've got some, other interview things like with Timur coming back around about how Book of Boba Fett was affected in its release and how that will affect Mandalorian and Grogu. So, wouldn't say a somber podcast, but we definitely have some strong things to talk about
Uh,
as we move into the upcoming media from Disney for Star Wars.
But we do have one positive note. We do have a announced release of a Return of the Jedi Darth Vader through Hot Toys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty sweet figure. It has the original Vader face, the scar and everything, so removable multi-steps, as well as an electrocuted variant, which is really cool looking. As he's tanking the Sith lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really cool design for the helmet. I believe it lights up as well. The saber lights up. Yeah, it's just a bunch of cool, and his chest lights up. Even the boxes on the belt light up.
Awesome.
So it's a really cool Vader. And not my favorite Vader, but it is a good Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because the battle damage Vader I think is a really sweet
Oh,
option to do.
always, yeah. Any battle damage Vader
But
is nice, and the electrocuted scene. It's such a pivotal scene. It's the return of Anakin, so it's very awesome.
if you want a good classic Vader, though, this would be the Vader. If you just want straight classic, you don't want any cool battle damage or anything like that, especially RTJ. They're slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
There's some slight costume differences, but that's the classic. When people think of Vader, they think of the final movie.
Yeah.
It's either the Obi-Wan duel or the final movie where he because there's so many dramatic reveals in that, and so it's a cool figure to own with a cool scene. So it's definitely great for anyone that wants to get a Vader in their collection. Outside of the Black Series and all that. So
Yeah. And Sideshow has announced a bunch of Cantina figures, so they're doing
yeah,
Greedo and the Deveronian. Can't ever remember his name. They're doing, what was it? Doctor. Can't remember his name.
sorry, I don't have the list pulled up.
Right. Yeah. But they're doing a few of the scum and villainy people from the Cantina scene on Tatooine, of course. Uh, as a lot of people are, it seems it comes in waves and
So
big, definitely plans.
it's Greedo, Ponda Baba. Fun thing about Ponda Baba is they actually have. I think it's might be exclusive only one of at least I know the exclusive variant because there's two variants for each of them. One of them has the option for the movie hands and then the race proper hands, which one of them is supposed to have the tentacle hands, which
Oh
I
yeah,
guess they define later. But in the movie, has the clawed hands to hold the blaster. Um, and so, sadly, no detachable arm. Panababa, if you don't know, he's the one that gets his arm cut off by Obi-Wan in the cantina, as well as his partners, Dr. Cornelius Evasion, which I I could never remember that full name. The guy with the
right.
messed up face.
Pig nose.
He actually has a really creepy backstory. I don't know
Yeah,
if you've heard of know what causes him.
yeah. He's
He
he's
does
a
a
bad
lot
guy.
of
He's a bad guy.
experimentation on beings and stuff like that. And then there's Garudan. He's the Imperial spy that catches Obi-Wan and Luke.
Long
Uh,
nose. If you think about New
and
Hope, he's
then
the guy who's like. "Rah, rah, rah, rah."
and the one that has no absolutely any interactions at all is Labria. He's the devil-looking guy. He just
Deveronian,
pops
yeah.
up for 1 second. He
Ah.
doesn't. He's the only one out of these ones that don't have a line in the movie. Even Ponda Baba and all them, they have lines. Greedo's has a line,
Oh
but
yeah.
Guardian has a line, but you don't know what he's. I mean, you just read the subtitles. I
Yep.
guess same as Panda, but
The best thing
yeah.
about Garden, I love that that is also that's how the famous actor Bruce Wayne, not Bruce Wayne, um, oh Wayne is his last name, the cowboy actor, the Western actor,
Oh,
Tom Wayne,
yeah,
not Tom Wayne,
John Wayne.
John Wayne. I was like, how did I forget that? But yes, John Wayne's voice was used and pitched at a level in through a sound machine to make that guy's like voice. So technically, John Wayne is in Star Wars.
Yeah, him and Greedo is probably my favorite out of the bunch. They're
Yeah.
all cool. Um, I just Greedo's a really classic design,
Mm-hmm.
and then also the Cameron or whatever
Yeah.
he's just cool design as well. Um,
Man, speaking
and
of
I've
cool
always really liked
designs,
the Greedo design.
yeah, Greedo is awesome. He's a classic little scummy bad guy. Two other things I'm hoping one day we get. Speaking of Deveronians, we need to get the Deveronian Queen from Bad Batch. I thought, or the Crime Queen, because that was cool. I would love that as a figure, or just some more like aliens in general.
Yeah, for sure. Uh,
Um, but really, I think, man, we could have. It'd be a big mess up if we don't end up getting a stranger. Because that
yeah.
figure was, if the helmet has already been sold out for as long as it has, we really should get a
So
Stranger Black Series.
I think we should still.
Yeah.
Um, I know there was some confusion with figures being removed from Disney
Oh,
Store,
yeah.
but now that I think about it, I don't think Disney Store really carried much of the.
They didn't, and it
Um,
was mostly a lot of
it was mostly
T-shirts,
in.
and all of those T-shirts are on that site still. They just recategorized them a little different. So, like, if you look up a lot of stuff from Star Wars, it doesn't show up. But if you go to the
I think
Star
only
Wars
the
T-shirts, they're there.
I think only the helmet and the shirts were in there, but the helmet sold out, so they
Hmm.
stopped carrying it on there.
Yeah.
And then most of the rest of them were just on Hasbro Pulse.
Yep.
Um, and they just have new uh they have a new an island or not an in cap but a new middle thing with all
Hmm.
the new figures for.
Acolyte and stuff. Yeah, all that
Yeah,
wave
I
is
think
out right
that's
now.
all Acolyte besides there's some kid ones. There's like
Yeah.
a Darth Vader. I showed you the picture. I don't know if you've got it at your Walmart yet, but
I
they
haven't
just now
checked
are
yet, but yeah.
putting them out. But yeah, which we can go on to the somber news of.
But
Well,
yeah,
I guess we
exactly.
can do the Boba Fett one because that one is a lot smaller to talk about. Which we got Tamora. He announced that he said, yeah, Boba Fett won't be returning for the Grogu movie. Which I wonder if that means that the movie's just going to be focusing on Mando and Grogu at that point.
I mean, isn't it supposed to also
Um,
end the Thrawn stuff somehow?
that was the assumption. I don't think they ever said if that. I don't think there was ever official announcement
I
of
mean,
that. So
I feel like because I think it was supposed to be the
I was
culmination of
hoping.
the entire Mandoverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's if we have to deal with Thrawn and you bringing in Ahsoka and maybe Shin Hati and Baylan Skoll and like all this Ezra, like all this, I can see why Boba Fett doesn't need to get in the mix. There's already enough names
Yeah.
anyway.
I mean,
But
it would have been awesome to have him in there for like the final fight or
mhm,
whatever. They have like the big, kind of because I know it's supposed to be comparison to Endgame, and
yeah,
so having that kind of Endgame moment where he shows up to give him, and also kind of gives him. He doesn't really have that much of a significance and world anymore for Mandalorians, but for the fans, it would be cool to have him kind of support the whole thing. But
it'd be cool, but I
it,
also understand where
yeah,
Boba Fett would be like, "No, I'm staying on Tatooine." Tim was kind
yeah,
of like stated to say it might have been a bit to do with the reception of the series, which I'm not saying at all that Tim might have over exaggerated. I'm just saying he might have misspoke a bit there, or it's just not. Misspoke is even wrong too, because I believe that Timur is the kind of man that's going to say what he means, and
yeah.
he thinks about
Well, I
what he
know he
says.
was
But the thing
pretty
is,
upset how the show was handled.
yes, and that's where I
Yeah,
was ultimately trying to get with this. Is it wasn't
yeah,
just from the fan perspective with it. There was you can see a lot of interviews, and I've seen them, spread all over again recently with the statement coming out again. Is the idea that Tim didn't even like the way that Boba Fett was in the show. He
yeah.
wanted him to be more silent. He wanted Fennec Shan to handle more of the conversational pieces. He wanted Boba Fett to be mysterious, dark, and the way he was a lot in the original movies, and more aggressive, which is the exact thing a lot of people wanted from the series as well. So he was right, and it sucks that he's not going to be able to
Yeah.
continue with the season two. More than likely, because it's just, if Acolyte doesn't get a season two and has been canned, there's no way Book of Boba Fett does because its reception and stuff.
Well, and Book of Boba Fett, the thing is, and we get that with the Acolyte, was never one slated.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like it got canceled or anything.
Yeah, it just didn't get greenlit and
Yeah,
didn't get fully put
yeah.
into. But
And there
it's
was never like a fully, because
mhm,
they left it kind of in ending, but they left it a point where they weren't really planning on doing a sequel. I mean, it would have been
mm,
nice to know what happens next, but I don't know where they could really go with it without. And that problem is they'd have to kind of keep it regional because you
mhm,
would start stepping on toes again with because you have all these timelines going on at the same time. You're going to start crossing timelines.
yeah.
And they already kind of were skirting that a little bit when they did it with the original series, so you got to be kind of careful.
To me, a lot
Um,
of this entire conversation though is also over the
yeah,
fact that not allowing things to have a season two to become good is idiotic. And if Disney is like, well, we're gonna cut down on shows, that's stupid. You would make money.
yeah,
Yes, first season was not received very well by the fans, but the big example I have to give, and it's like the best one I think is neither was Empire Strikes Back because of the no Return of the Jedi because of the Ewoks. Neither was Episode One because of Jar Jar Binks and Anakin and pod racing and everything else people bitched about. The Clone Wars season one was trashed on horrendously. It was put in newspapers how bad that show was received. If these things had ended because of bad reception, we wouldn't have Star Wars. They need a few seasons to burn. That's also they need more than 8 fucking episodes. That's another big part of it. They
yeah.
need longer form for these things to blossom and become something and to really tell the story.
I think so. And we can go ahead and start because this is kind of getting in the Ahsoka part. Ahsoka. I'm sorry. I've got some another conversation going on.
Yeah.
The acolyte part and
Mm-hmm.
another A word, and so and because that kind of touches on that. So because there's a couple things, and I think some of it where mistakes were made, and we got to think about it from their executive part where they want to see numbers. They don't
Mm-hmm.
really care about fans or to be honest, it's the truth. They look at numbers. They look at how much money they're going to be making in investments.
Yeah.
And sadly, you should know this from your work experience. These type of people typically look in short term and not long term. It's very frustrating. They don't see the bigger picture that you might lose your money now, but in the season might not do good. But if you look at the track record of Star Wars, it's probably going to do well later on.
Yeah.
And then you also can fix things with sequels. You look at Star Wars has a very strong track record for sequels.
Yep.
I don't know a single sequel that didn't actually precede that original.
Yeah.
You think about the original trilogies, how well, sorry, I take that back. The sequels didn't do so hot. Um,
But that's because
at
all this
least,
shit
yeah.
started and things, but
But
everything has been received
yeah,
poorly. Every
and that
single
was kind of
thing.
handled. That was kind of handled poorly. But we won't jump on the sequel train today. But yeah, so I do want to cover as we start into the acolyte, the articles we see over and over again, and
Mm-hmm.
don't get me started on our these news reporting sites.
Right. Yeah.
There one for official cancel season two or officially that acolyte was canceled. For starters, there was never an official announcement, so not
Yep.
official.
They use the word cancel and
Second,
official because it makes you
canceled.
click on it.
Yeah, and canceled. It was never canceled. It
Yeah.
was never
Yeah.
greenlit. It was never announced. She, in one interview, said she would like to do 2, 3, even 4 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But she wrote the season. She says for one season, and so it was never greenlit. Um, for so to say that it was canceled, I don't think so. Um, and since we've never gotten official word from Lucasfilms or Disney, saying that we did and it was canceled,
Yeah.
reinforcing it or counteracting the idea. They're just being silent at this point. So it's like they can and can't. It just never was, so they don't
Yeah.
really have anything to say about it. Um, I think they maybe heard that there wasn't going to be a season 2 now, and pushed it out. And I think it's going to do more damage than it should,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure Disney was going to wait for that announcement so that people can still watch the show and enjoy the show,
Yeah.
enjoy buying the toys and the figures.
Yep.
So now fans who haven't watched the show are like, why should I watch it when there's not going to be a season 2?
And that's the other thing that I hate about this stuff too, because again, I know a lot of the sources are saying it, and I know a lot of people. Well, it's not really a lot of sources. It's only one. It's only
source.
one source from one person, and it's blown
Yeah.
up. But it's not been completely debunked yet. Star Wars would have, if they had planned on doing one, we would hope by now they would have already come out and been like, whoa, that's not true at all. But the silence is to a degree kind of answering the question, but not fully. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be on Ideal Island and be like, no, it could still happen, maybe.
Yeah, my guess is like maybe they were like thinking, oh, is there going to be an Acolyte season 2? And probably somebody up, in the media department said, we don't know yet. Probably not at this point.
Yeah.
And so this is, oh, season 2's canceled. Let's ship
Yep.
it. And, let's tie that down. Sell, because these news stations are driving me crazy because they would rather sell a negative view of Star Wars because it gets easy clicks
Yeah.
than anything positive. They never showed. I don't remember seeing a single thing positive in most of these news reports.
What
And
is
it
the
only
common term?
hurts.
Yeah, it's like grifting. But yeah, they literally, like you said, it hurts the entire fandom. It hurts the entire franchise. That, well, I get more clicks if I hate on Star Wars and
Yeah.
I complain about all this stuff and I put all this stuff out for people to see and not like with me. But that's not the point of fandom. Fandom. What is the first word in that? Fan. You enjoy the thing. Fanatic. You love it. It's a thing
Yeah.
that you want to consume. So stop fucking it up. Quit making fan not fun.
Stop posting rumors as official.
Mm-hmm.
That only hurts. There's nothing good. The only thing they get are the clicks they wanted.
Yeah.
And it's so selfish. It's very. They're being vultures. They're feeding on things that are dead. It's not news really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, there's no official announcement for season 2.
Yeah.
And right now they probably don't want to do a season 2 because it's too early. The first season just came out.
Yep.
I mean, they're like, we might or we might not. I know from the executive standpoint, they're probably looking at how much money was invested in the first season. They put too much money into it, and we didn't get much return in it, which is sad
Mm-hmm.
because we got a few short episodes,
Yeah.
30-minute 8 episodes, and most of that content was like only new content and maybe like 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes per
Mm-hmm.
episode because you get the flashback and everything else.
Yep.
So that would have been, even if it was a good show, that would have driven fans mad. I would have hated it. I hate it just in general. There's not enough time for a plot to really develop in a series like this.
Right. No, it's frustrating that they handicap themselves, and then people want to be like, oh, look what they took away from you guys, ha, ha. I guess that's, numbers speak for themselves. Shut up! It was the second most watched show. Oh, but it dipped in audience. Everything dips in audience. There was also, there was other things out then. You know why all these news channels have nothing to report right now? So they're talking about the negative parts of Star Wars. Is because there's nothing else out.
Yeah.
Nothing.
But even if so, I mean, I guess they would do like a quick announcement, but they know that negative sells.
Man, if this was a market strategy plan, it's gonna work, because I've seen petitions that are at like 7,000 backers. I've seen hashtags going crazy. I've joined in a few of them because I want it bad. I want another season of the Acolyte. I want more of Pelagius. I don't want to see him and then not get more of him. That's the biggest thing they're going to take away from me if I don't get a second season. Or at least, put it as a book. And that's might be why they're not saying anything right now. Because maybe maybe we will continue the story, but just not as a TV show. because that's very common. And it's, again, it's High Republic era, so they already have writers for it. They could very easily give the second season of this to a author from the High Republic. Claudia Gray, Kevin Scott, uh, Mike Chen, so many amazing authors that could. And he's not. Mike Chen did Brotherhood, but I think he's done a few. I have to check it.
I really wish they would get with these writers that are writing
Mm-hmm.
and get together with them to help write these shows. I think one of the things that she did that was too bad on the show. One of my few criticisms that she focused too much on getting outside people that have no connection to Star Wars. It's good to
Mm-hmm.
have that in, but she probably should have gotten some of the writers that have been writing these novels that
Yeah.
already experience in telling stories within the High Republic
Mm-hmm.
would have been perfect to have in the writers' room. I know that writing novels and writing uh, scripts are different, but their input would have been invaluable. I think having them on board more would have been very helpful.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's coulda, shoulda, woulda. The show is out. The show's already been aired. Yeah, it's we talked about how it's better than what people are saying.
Yeah.
It's not the perfect series. We both really like things, and there's some things that we don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
But man,
but
it's
I
got
mean,
great lightsaber choreography. It's got a lot of crazy badass stuff that happens. It's got Plagueis in it for a second. Like it's got some really cool moments, which is all of Star Wars. Every single Star Wars project that has ever been released, you can say there's a part of this that I think is kind of weird and dumb and should have been taken out or not added or done different. And you can also say there was a part of this that is one of my favorite things I've ever seen ever.
yeah, and that's one of the great things that we have so many varieties of these shows is
Mm-hmm.
because not every show is going to be for everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
it gives you the option. And again, I keep harping back on back in the day, but we didn't get that option. For a while, it took us forever to get the Clone Wars show, and that was the only option we had.
Yeah.
And it was that, or just wait 10 years for another movie to pop out. Um, so it's awesome to have this variety, to have like such varieties. You look at Andor and how it's stylized, and you compare it to Acolyte. It's totally two different shows. One has
Yeah.
no lightsabers, one has a ton of dialogue, focuses on dialogue, and the
Right.
other one focuses more on action. And so you get timeline differences. So you
Mm-hmm.
get and but they got some setting similarities, though. So far nobody's beat Andor in the background. I'm sorry, the
Mm-hmm.
setting. I mean, it's the most money investment, so we gotta have a lot better with the backdrops and the side characters,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Um, but you get more with aliens with the Acolyte. You get again cool special effects. We don't get hardly any special effects in Andor.
Yeah.
You get a lot more in Acolyte because you get all the Jedi's and the Force powers, and so it's you get a bunch of variety. For instance, you're more of the Jedi person or the
Yeah.
Sith person, and I don't like it as much. I like it minimalistic because I like the big impact at the end. Because I feel like if it's everywhere, but not that I want every show to be that way.
Yeah.
So I prefer it that way, but there's also the moments where, yeah, it'd be cool to see Jedi's and Sith dueling it out and
Mm-hmm.
just lightning and force powers. And I mean, I like Dragon Ball Z back in the day. I like the cool flashy stuff. So, but yeah, it's just nice to have that. And the fact that it's just not healthy to
Mm-hmm.
trash everything. It
All the
never
time,
is.
so much. It blows my mind how someone could live in such a state of absolute just hate and just
Yeah.
disliking of everything. It's like, how can you possibly dislike all of this? You are looking for things to not like. You specifically are trying to find things that you don't want to like instead of just enjoying the show. You know how many things I miss if I go back when I rewatch these shows, then I'll see things like, oh, I see how they kind of flobbed that moment a little bit. but not my first watch through. My first watch through, I was so raptured at the idea of getting new Star Wars that was different and had a different vibe and a different, ambiance, all of it. That was so enticing to me. I didn't care about these small little problems that I could then later see.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, it's one of those things. Like, I believe if you went to a donut shop every single day and you believed the donuts were gonna taste like shit, eventually they'll start tasting like that to you. Like, mind over
Well,
matter
that
kind of
and you,
works.
and you keep telling them, you keep putting reviews, it's going to start putting in their head that we
Mm-hmm.
make terrible products, so why even put forth the effort anymore? Why
Mm-hmm.
or even bother making them? So the more of this we get, we just need to get the idea that if you don't like it, it's fine. And not everything's gonna be meant for you.
Yeah.
We understand.
And then they
Star Wars is for
judge.
everyone, and it won't be. Not every show is gonna be to your liking.
Yeah.
And if you keep attacking the makers, Disney, the actors, no one's gonna want to be in a Star Wars
Yep.
show. They're not gonna want to make a Star Wars show. We're not going to have anyone direct the show because they know it's going to negatively impact their career. Why would I invest my
Mm-hmm.
time? It used to be Star Wars, like being in Star Wars is the dream, and it still is.
Yeah.
But I can see why actors don't want to be in Star Wars anymore because
Yep.
of the backlash.
I think the thing that like hurts me the most too is just how many people want to give their opinion and create this negative backlash, which then hurts these shows and hurts the future of Star Wars, but either didn't watch a single damn second of the show or couldn't get past. And I don't care what anyone says, the people that have gone to attack Amanda Lay, I try to remember her name, I know it's a bit, but the girl who played Osha and May,
Yeah.
to go to her private Instagram and then immediately attack her and tell her how happy they are that she's out of work and stuff. You tell me then by doing that, it had nothing to do with the acting and the show, and it had everything to do with the female black woman.
Even so, even if you don't like the character, there's no reason to attack the actor.
Yeah.
Unless the actor did something horribly wrong, even then, I still hate the idea of the whole attacking them personally. I mean, sometimes it's a little justified, but I mean, it always goes beyond the part.
Mm-hmm.
And the only time it is somewhat justified is when they do something horribly wrong, and I'm talking about when when you get the same thing some of these Twitch streamers and YouTubers have been doing lately
Right, which
with
is not even the
their
character. That's
audience.
off the set.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has nothing to. That's just them breaking the law.
So that's the only time I see where it's somewhat relevant. But even then, I don't feel like it's ever justified to ever
Mm-hmm.
attack anyone, especially when you target them. Features they cannot change, whether it be race, sex, um, anything. The things you are born with, things that are part of your being. And then, yeah, acting is a job. A lot of times it's actors because they get attacked the most because they're the face of it. But
Yeah,
it's not always what you dislike about them. It's not always their fault. They didn't write their
it's
dialogue.
right. It blows my mind. And the other thing, like you said too, is yeah, we're just going to be pushing away anyone from ever wanting to do anything like this. Like, or like, we have Daisy coming out and saying that she now has a disease that's kind of really hurting her her weight, and people are
She's had it
talking
for a
about
while.
yeah, and people are like really attacking her about it. And it's like again, you motherfuckers, leave it alone. How do you have this much vitriol in your spirit for something that happened so many years ago? Stop watching it. You don't have to watch it. You don't have to interact with people who do like to watch it. You don't have to let the like you literally how it's like you're sitting there and putting your hand on the stove and you're like, "Ow, that burns me." And when someone tells you to take it off, you're angry at them instead of just take your hand off the stove.
Well, and even if you like say that her role in Star Wars ruined Star Wars, if the things that people dislike about her character had nothing to do with her control over, she didn't decide that her father was going to be Palpatine. She never decided
Mm-hmm.
that she was going to be viewed as overpowered or whatever else. The only thing that
Yeah, which I
she
always love that because it's
yeah.
like, bro, so is Luke and Anakin. That's the whole point.
the only thing that you could say that you could control is who she is as a person,
Hmm.
and that had very little effect of that character besides the
Yep.
effort she put in to put on a good character, which she should be, raised up for. We should. It's crazy that put we either put an actor way on a pedestal above what they should be,
Hmm.
or we just destroy them.
Right.
And when it comes to Star Wars, I don't know if we've ever really put any actor on a pedestal
Hmm.
anymore. At least in the newer parts.
Well, like I saw a
Um,
TikTok today and I loved it. It was another older gentleman straight up just blaming people around like, Gen X above time frame to boomers and stuff, like just being like, you guys are some of the worst fans in the world. If it's not the original trilogy, you guys just can't fathom it being different. And I say it's the same with the prequel fans, and maybe soon it'll be the same with some of the sequel fans. Like, you need to move on. Star Wars has to grow and have different vibes because it's not always going to be written just for you. Star Wars is also written for 6 to like 55-year-olds. And they have to include everyone now in this bubble. And they're trying to also bring in new people. So they're trying to include these new ideas, these new thoughts, and it's not the fact. And then again, you always hear like, "Oh, it's these fucking politics they're pushing." Star Wars has been pushing politics since the fucking 70s.
well,
It's all about
I mean,
politics.
it's very clear in The New Hope the first movie. I mean, the whole point of Leia to begin with, she's a politician.
Yep.
She's escaping being prejudiced of the overarching empire government
Yep.
that's hunting her down um, with their troopers called stormtroopers, which, believe it or not, were based on soldiers of the same name, um, which is
World War II term for
yeah,
Germany.
they had soldiers named stormtroopers, which they were based on.
Yeah.
Um, there's yeah, the whole thing. There's political talk, even in the original, all over the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, in episode one, the funny thing is it's supposed to be the kids' movie, and there's a lot of politics in that one.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I don't think politics is a terrible thing. One thing that I like about the Acolyte is the whole politics of everything, because it's the
Yes.
transition where you get to see her hang on to, and the Senate trying to hold on to the Senate,
Oh
and
man, that Senate part with Ravencourt, yeah, that was awesome. I loved that senator being in there, being like, "What is the point of the Jedi anymore? You guys are just a
yeah,
crazy cult with way too much power." That was amazing.
that and it really needed to be in there because we wanted to see, because when we go from that to episode one, what
Mm-hmm.
changed how the Jedi are viewed,
Yeah.
and it showed the strength of or not the strength, the idea of the elevation of Jedis are no
Mm-hmm.
longer this mythical, untouchable people, that now they're just kind of used for like when they kind of don't want to send a politician to do something.
Right, because the Republic refused to have a military, they start using the Jedi as one.
So there's a lot of good points. I will say one of my favorite pictures, I saw somebody when the whole cancellation
Mm-hmm.
announcement, we posted a picture of the last scene of the back head of Yoda, and this is, man, it sucks. We'll never see who this
Oh
guy's gonna
yeah,
end up
Tommy
being.
Stella, I love that guy. Yeah, oh
That was
man.
one of my favorite memes.
He had another tweet after that I saw that was straight up. He just said, "I'm so in love with all the people who are actually telling me it's Yoda." Because people were just straight up commenting like, "Oh, it's Yoda, bro." I was like, "Oh no, really? Oh, cool. I didn't think it would be. Wow, I thought it was Yaddle."
So yeah, I mean,
It's
the biggest
awesome.
thing is like
And that's the thing. You
I
can have
get you
fun in Star Wars.
disliked.
You can have
Yeah, you
fun
can,
with Star Wars and be a little like
and you don't
not
have to
rude,
like
but
everything, but you don't have to attack. The one thing we don't need to do is to keep attacking. We don't need to keep attacking.
we don't need to
We can say
jeopardize
Disney,
the
hey, we
future
don't
of the
like this.
franchise. Yeah.
You can dislike something, and you can say why you dislike it,
Mm-hmm.
but to constantly attack, it doesn't do anything. If anything, it hurts it in
Mm-hmm.
the long run because you're not going to get much support. We're still getting AAA games for
Yep.
Star Wars. We're getting a new phone game that we just got for Star Wars. We're getting still getting movies,
Yeah.
but we keep doing this. We're not going to get anything.
If
If you
if
don't
Star
like
Wars
the
becomes
game,
nothing but
don't play the
vitriol,
game.
yeah, if Star Wars becomes vitriol again to the point where it's as bad as the reason why George Lucas got the fuck rid of it in the first place, like he was done making movies like this that would take him years and years. He wanted to spend time with his kids, and he was sick of the fans. So if Disney does the same thing, it's dead, everyone.
Yeah.
Star Wars will die. And I can't, that's a world I don't want to live in. So we need to stop attacking people over
Because
Star Wars. It's so pathetic. It's so
people don't
stupid.
realize right now we're at a part in the Star Wars uh, theatrical the show. We're at a part where Disney could literally just stop making stuff, and they
Hmm.
could be like, "We've done enough." Because once they put the Mandalorian Grogu movie,
Yeah.
they could just say, "We're done.
Yep.
We've done what we want to do, and that's all we want to do." They don't even have to do the new movies coming out.
Hmm.
They haven't even really started on them yet.
Yeah.
Um, so they could be just like, we did our thing, we did pretty good, we got Disney Plus sold, we'll move on.
Yep. The Mandalorian started and it finished and it wrapped up our Disney Plus Star Wars universe. Thank you all so much for this journey. Uh, Bye. And then that's it. And then that's literally it forever.
That's the people don't understand is we're literally at a point where they could easily just close all of Star Wars. Like I said, we done it. We did what we set
Hmm.
out to do. We did 3 movies. We did a couple spin-offs. We did some shows that did real well.
Yep.
We sold a ton of toys. We opened some theme parks. And we'll still continue selling you the same toy over and over again because we know y'all
Hmm.
will buy it.
Yep.
But why would we need to drop millions of dollars on a new show for it to just waste this money? So
And then that means eventually the comics dry out, the books dry
yeah,
out, the games dry out. It's done. It's done, and we're back to. So many people seem to have forgotten before 2001. It we were fucking certain that there would never be another Star Wars, pretty much.
go back to the 90s essentially, where you just had to rely on literature
Mm-hmm.
and maybe games, and most of the games that we got were just reskins of games that have already been out,
Yep.
just Star Warsified, and they honestly weren't that good.
Nope. And the toys were limited and small, and you know, the costumes were shit, and it just it. I don't want to think of the idea that Star Wars flounders because fans killed it again. And again's a wrong term. I just get so mad at how wrong so many people have been treated by the fandom. And it's so stupid. It's
Yeah,
so stupid. Why are you a fan if you just don't like everything? Then go watch the stuff you like, go read the expanded universe stuff you like, and leave everyone else
yeah.
alone. You
If
don't
you
have to
only
join the party if you don't want to be in it.
Yeah, if you only like the original trilogy, go watch them.
Hmm.
That's great for you. I like the original trilogy too.
Yep.
We could talk about that, but once we, I have a conversation with you, and you say once we talk about, hey, did you watch this new show? And I say, yeah, and you say, oh, that show's terrible. I can't believe you like that. There's no reason to do that. You say, oh, I didn't really care for that show, so I'm not gonna watch it. Great, that's on you.
Yep.
I will say, give it a chance. It's a pretty good show.
Yep.
Because I know you probably watch some other dumb show that's out,
Yeah, but they're gonna
or
go watch
you,
NCIS for the 7 billionth fucking time. Like it's not the same episode.
or they watch. I mean, anything you name it. They go watch news that's full of crap, or they
Yeah.
watch sports. It's the same teams, the same players, and the new players with this.
Yep.
As an athlete, well, an old athlete. I mean,
There's an
it's
old
the same
athlete
stuff.
talking about the new athlete doing the other things to the older athlete who's about to be an announcer, but he's not yet. So the other new athlete's going to take his spot, and oh wow, fucking
It's
or a
we get
concert. Oh yeah, music is great, but
it's a lot similar to a lot
ugh.
of fandoms going on. It's just for some reason Star Wars is the one that it's okay. It's popular to hate it
Yeah.
because you go in any fandoms, you're gonna get a lot of these negative results.
Hmm.
Because I'm in other communities. I like Magic the Gathering. I like D&D. I like anything nerdy really. But I
Yeah.
look into like Lord of the Rings. You look into or Marvel. You look into anything new coming out. People attack it, but Star Wars is like on another level.
Yeah.
I don't see people. A lot of people dislike the new Magic sets coming out, but they don't go and attack Mark Rosewater, who's the basically the face of Magic right now. He's
Yeah,
one
they're
of the
not going to
original.
the artists and telling them that
Yeah,
the cards suck and that they suck for making them. Like,
and unless they steal art, which is another thing,
yeah, that's still yeah.
because there's been a couple stolen art
Again,
lately.
if you're
And
breaking the code
yeah,
outside of the thing, that's your fault.
yeah. But they're not going personal. They're not calling him out for things that he can't change
Right.
or that whoever it is they can't change. There's no benefit to doing that. You're only
None.
causing more harm than good.
Hmm.
You're making it literally that we're not going to get any more Star Wars. And
And
yeah,
that's not cool with me, and I'm gonna beat you up with my lightsaber. I don't like that
watch
world.
watch the show or don't watch the show. And if you
Mm.
watch the show, say that show I dislike it for this reason. But if you like it, good for you. I'm not
Yep.
gonna say, God, it's the worst thing. I can't believe they did this to
But
Star
then,
Wars. They were
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, they ruined Star Wars with this. This is what ruined Star Wars
because
right here.
if we speak out as a fandom that hey, the show wasn't great,
Hmm.
they will listen.
Yep.
It's fine. But if you instead use your because one of the greatest things is that these companies can go on to these social medias and see kind of a general I hate it, but see how the general audience like sees things
Yeah.
and they get their idea, but some people don't deserve shouldn't have a voice. I shouldn't say that. Some people shouldn't have a soapbox to stand on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they shouldn't have a
I don't mean a voice
platform
like
at least.
yeah, shouldn't have a platform. Um, but people are using their ability to have a platform
Hmm.
and using it in the worst way possible. It's
Yeah.
just it doesn't help.
I'll never understand. Again, like I said it so many times, I'll never understand wanting to have that much hate in your life because it's
Don't call
gotta be
yourself a Star
tiring.
Wars fan. If you use your time ability to attack actors, writers, whatever, you're not a Star Wars fan. And if
Yeah.
you have Star Wars in your channel's name or your Twitter name or whatever, or Star Wars picture, and you are full of hate on there against Star Wars, just change your name.
Yeah. You're
If
just this troll.
yeah,
That's all you're
it's
doing
just
now. Everyone sees it, but it sadly still
if you
works. It's the weirdest system right
if
now.
you say that you are that you make theories based on Star Wars, but you don't put a single theory based on Star Wars out.
In like
Um,
a year and a
instead use
half.
instead use your time to just attack Star Wars in general. Um, Probably should change your name at that point.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I just in general. I mean, if call it what it is. We're a Star Wars podcast, so we call ourselves a Star Wars podcast. We
Yep.
talk about Star Wars. We don't lie about who we are. Um, we don't spend our time attacking Star Wars.
Because that'd be so boring just to hear the
Yeah.
same thing all the time. You at least you can always know like we're not gonna tell you that it's the best thing ever unless it's really fucking good to
Uh,
us individually.
well, that's one thing I like that we're at least the two of us because we're never going to have the same opinion all the
Hmm.
time. Because I will like say we both have different opinions and we know our opinions are opinions.
Yep.
I, but I'm not going to use my this. We're not going to use this platform or opinions to just straight up attack anyone because they have a different opinion.
Because that doesn't get
So
anyone anywhere. It just makes everyone an asshole involved, and it starts fights that don't need to be fought, and it just creates more tension in a world that's already full of tension and full of reasons to not get along. So let's just not add to that dog pile. And Star Wars is awesome. It is fun. the people who said I only watched 3 episodes and I couldn't get any farther in that series, okay, fine. If you really don't want to watch anymore, fine. But no shit, you didn't like the first 3 episodes and then you moved on. Like they weren't the best in the world because it's all set up. And if you're not a massive Star, and the people who said that are mediocre Star Wars fans, and I don't mean mediocre as in like poorly. I just mean like they're medium. Like they're not like crazy. They're not like, oh my god, I need to see all of it. But they just happen to be like, well, I like Star Wars. I think it's cool because it's a part of culture now. That's a lot of people. It's a part of culture more than they actually enjoy it. So they just think they like Star Wars, but really what they like is the fact that Star Wars is in their zeitgeist.
Yeah, well, they like the idea. It's like the people that wear a Superman shirt but never read a Superman comic.
Yeah, the people who wear
That type of
Nirvana shirts
situation.
and have not listened to that much
Yeah,
Nirvana.
and it's you can say that. Yeah, I only watched 3 episodes. I didn't like it. Well, cool. That doesn't mean the show's bad. It just means that wasn't the show you liked.
Yeah. But I bet you if
There's
you watch the fight scenes in the later episodes, you think that's at least pretty fucking cool.
If you want to give the time to watch it, then that's cool. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of stuff to
Yeah.
watch, but I mean, Acolyte is the shortest out of all of them,
Mm-hmm.
so you might as well finish it. If you started that much, it's like half the
Just
show right there.
blows my mind though. Like, well, I didn't watch 3 episodes.
See,
I only watched 3 episodes, and I didn't want to go any further. So
if you had
instead, I
a
went and I watched BattleBots. Shut up! Like that's more riveting than fucking the Acolyte.
if you had a legit complaint that the episodes were too short, that the plot really couldn't develop quick enough, good enough because it was just not there,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say great, thanks. I agree with you. If you say that you didn't like certain things just wasn't your thing, that's fine. If you
Mm-hmm.
said the show was boring, um, to me that just tells me that most probably you had your phone out and you were looking at your phone the entire time,
Yeah, I don't know how boring. What? What?
and then
Boring.
I mean that there's
It's because you don't want to think. It's
yeah,
that's the other thing too is, and it's such a crappy thing to say, and I hate it because maybe it's just that I'm in my 30s and I'm out of the in stuff, but nobody has the ability. Like, hey, I don't think any of you guys would survive 90s and early 2000s movies anymore because if you don't remember, we would wait 5 years for a movie to come out. It would end on a cliffhanger, and then we'd wait 8 years for the second one to come out. I don't think you all remember how shows used to work. They used to have season finales where things were not always answered. And then we would wait like a year and a half plus, if not way more. And then
don't
another
get me
season might start up.
started on like the 10 minutes of commercials with every
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes of the show.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
These
an hour
episodes
long episode, but
these
it
episodes are
was
only 35 minutes. Yes, I've complained about them not being long enough because I like Star Wars so much that I just genuinely want all of it to be longer. Make a 7-hour movie and I'll watch it. That's what you don't. I'm a sweaty. I'm a hardcore. The big thing to me though is this. What do you mean? Why do you need your handheld? Why do you need Star Wars to explain everything perfectly suited to you every episode, or it's not good? Shut up and use your brain for at least like half an hour. But kind of like back on that original point I was making before I ADHD'd off. The half an hour thing. Yeah, all of our television shows were more like 15 minutes. Everyone's like, oh, but we watched 30-minute shows as kids. No, no, no. As kids on Cartoon Network, that was like a 20-minute show, maybe, with 10 minutes of commercials.
yeah.
We were
These days
legit.
wouldn't last with
They
commercials.
would
It
not
just
last with it.
and believe it or not, our shows, our movies, you had to watch commercials for you to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Some people that was their favorite part.
And movies were only an hour and a half. It was if you had a 2 hour
Actually,
movie.
there was quite a few movies that were only weren't even an hour and a half. A lot of
Yeah,
them were
true.
just like I think there's quite
An
a few
hour
that were less.
15.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of short movies in the late 90s and early 2000s. Most of them involving Pauly Shore, but I love the Weasel, so I don't care. There were so many just like, and there were so many stories that went nowhere and just got abandoned into the ether
And
forever.
you couldn't, and you wouldn't have quick access to them like we do now. You'd
Hmm.
have to try to find them either at the store to buy, which they were expensive,
Yeah.
or you had to rent them.
Yep. You had to go rent them.
And hoping they had them in stock when you
Hmm.
rented there. Somebody was renting it.
Too bad. You have to wait another few weeks, which means now you're behind even more. Especially if it was
And
a
it
show
sucked.
or.
It sucked if you didn't like it either.
Oh,
Especially
dude.
if it's a bit. You cherished video games a lot more back then because if you rented them, if
Yeah.
you rented a bad game, it's like, well, you just stuck with it for the time that you rented
Yep.
it.
You just
So
stuck with it for the weekend, so just get through it. But now you buy one, you spend $75 on a
I should
gold
go back to
edition
renting.
game. Yeah. That's and oh my gosh, like how many times a show would come on like, oh my god, it's a new episode of Dragon Ball Z. I didn't like that one. Wow, that kind of sucked. Like he still just kept
Oh
powering
god.
up. He was still just
Or
powering
the
up.
time where you
And then
waited a
we had to
week.
wait. I know we had to wait a week. It was a bad episode, and then we had to wait another week.
Well, don't forget the times when they did rerun. When you wait for a new episode, but it wasn't. They decided to put a rerun up
Yeah.
instead, and you gotta wait another week.
We had like the writers were on strike, or there'd be some weird like Funimation was burning down again or something, so they didn't have the thing done in time. So it was like,
It's
yeah,
just it's
rerun.
the amount that we're spending on subscriptions was we you would pay you would save more money if you just rented the shows you wanted compared to what we're paying
Oh
for these
yeah,
subscription models. Like
that's a fun way
you'd
to
be
look at
paying
it.
like yeah, it's like because they just got you hooked because you could be a whole month where you're not watching a single new show, and you could have just rented a show for like $5 for the one night, and then
Mm,
you'd be done. You take it back, you get another show if you want. If not, you wait another while instead of paying $15 that month.
right. It's always blown my mind to think about like, we didn't go through anything like bad. Like I'm not saying we were
Yeah,
tortured by media, but we had a
I'm just saying
you had to
you
have a
got a
different
good now.
patience. Yeah, we and the things that are made are so much better. The music is so good and things are so well put together and edited, and the CGI looks a little campy sometimes, but bad today is still way better than bad in 2008.
Yeah, if you look actually watch episode one, you think that CGI was bad. That was peak CGI.
That was
That was
they
the
literally were
best of the
inventing
best.
it as they went. Like they were inventing the machinery
They
to do this stuff.
well they had CGI, but it was very horrible.
Yeah.
You compare it to you you look at like that was years ahead of its time when it
Mm-hmm.
first came out. And even like they go years ahead. If they go with the like iconic movies like Spy Kids or something like that, when they had their
Oh yeah.
CGI, it was horrible. And that's years later. Yeah, it's I mean, we are peak Star Wars. We've gotten more
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars than we've ever gotten in our
We're
lives.
getting
There's
card games. We're getting figures. We're getting accessories. We're getting clothing lines. We're getting so much. We have our own park to go to.
multiple.
Don't ruin it. It just don't fuck it up. We have
I
something nice.
remember I remember when they dropped the Hasbro Child Boba Fett helmet.
Mm-hmm.
It was similar to the old Darth Vader helmet that they had back in the day. It was just a mask. Um, it was wearable, and then when they finally dropped the Boba Fett one years ago, I was so excited,
Mm-hmm.
and it was terrible. And to finally get these Black Series helmets where they're like as close as we are going to get in a store to screen accurate, it was amazing. I
Yep.
remember people were buying those crappy Ruby's helmets. Terrible.
Yeah, the
And they were
rubies.
using those as like that was like the cool Star Wars helmet to get because that was all we got. Now we get this
Is
kind of
it?
stuff is
Yep.
insane.
The
If I could,
lightsabers were only telescoping.
yeah,
They all telescoped. They all broke within 3 milliseconds, and they all were just a flashlight with a green, red, blue, maybe yellow. You can find you can find all kinds of knockoffs, but that was it. And now we have these beautiful pixel, super ultra grand sabers with all these
oh yeah.
motherboards and sound fonts and different ignitions. You know what I hate the most about being spoiled? It is then watching the spoiled people who lap it up and aren't happy with it. Because then you're like, I don't think you understand how hungry we just were for this content. Or for me, where it's like my main thing, like this is my number one thing. Like, I don't think you understand how precious this resource is. Stop pissing all over it.
There's so much Star Wars out there that if you're not liking the new Acolyte, either wait for the next show to come out, read some of the new books,
Mm-hmm.
or just go back and watch the shows you do like. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean Star Wars is dead. I hate people that says anything Disney does, hate Disney Star Wars, and they're
Then
like, well, do you like The
stop.
Mandalorian? Yeah, okay. It's
Yeah.
there's
Or
so
no,
much good that
the thing
Disney's
that
put
pisses
out
me
with
off too,
Star Wars.
they'll just be like, "Hey, I hate Disney Star Wars. Did you like the last season of Clone Wars?" Yeah. Well, who do you think put that out? That was after the purchase. I don't think you understand how long ago that was. It's been almost 10 years now?
Yeah,
It's been 10
yeah.
years now,
There's
yeah.
I hate the term and people that hate Disney Star Wars. To me, it just means they never even got a chance. They just like watched the movies and then they never touched anything again.
Yeah.
But don't call yourself a Star Wars fan.
Then yeah, just go watch your pre-Disney stuff. Enjoy your shitty Yuzong Vong. Enjoy Palpatine returning anyway because he does in the stupid
Yuzong
ass
wasn't
books you love so
shitty.
much. I hate the Yuzong Vong.
I
I
think
think
they're
that
cool.
they're edge lord little weirdos. They're fucking ridiculous. They're anti-force. It doesn't work on them. Oh, that's the epitome of the kid who goes, "No, I have a force field on. You can't hurt me."
Like it's, the thing is like people that are obsessed with the legends. There was some good legends. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of bad legend stories out there. There was a lot,
Yeah.
and the problem is there was several sites dedicated to try to navigate everything because there's so much of legends. It was just
Hmm.
all over the place. I remember because getting into it, we didn't get much Star Wars stories. So yeah, I was a nerd on the internet and I did some Star Wars roleplay. I'll admit it.
Yeah, you
And
did. You had to do it.
we had to make people. Had to do our own research, deep diving into Star Wars for lore that made didn't make any use outside in the real world, and we had to navigate it. We had to do so many arguments of like what's canon, what's not canon, and I love people showing up with the dumbest character and like, well, this is canon. They have proof, and then I just
Yeah.
had to deal with it. Show somebody up with a green rabbit, and I'm like, God damn it, furries invaded Star Wars again. And then I had to remember that old comic about I can't remember his name. I'm glad he's not canon anymore because yeah,
What, Jackson?
I think yeah.
Yeah, he's canon, by the way. His race exists.
I'm gonna pretend it doesn't because Bugs Bunny doesn't need to be in Star Wars.
I actually have his very first comic appearance ever because it's an iconic comic. But
Yeah, people used his character to essentially bring their furries into Star Wars, and it was so annoying.
yeah, there's definitely been a lot of new fun things thrown into Star Wars, and that's the other thing that I hate too about people who want to bitch about the Acolyte because they'll say like, oh, she doesn't respect EU, and they don't understand how much Leslie Headland actually put EU stuff in now canon because of her. Like, she actually has read the books. She actually was a huge fan. She actually did she also did RPGs and role play in Star Wars, and like she's a real fan. I know a lot of you don't want to think she is because she worked for Disney Star Wars, but definitely actually a real fan. Like, actually cared about the lore and the history of Star Wars and knew it. And so does Filoni, who has been the head of everything. So the other people who say, I only like something if Filoni made it. Well, he doesn't really make stuff anymore, besides the Mandalorian Grogu movie, because that's the big thing. He wants to direct a movie. He's always wanted to. This is his movie. But he said okay to everything Leslie had. He at one point looked over it and went, "Yeah, I approve. This is awesome."
I'll be honest, some of the interviews she did wasn't probably the best thing. I put things in a bad light for people that don't like that stuff. I get it. She was trying to get people who don't normally watch Star Wars into Star Wars with some of the comments that I don't have a problem with. I'm just saying that probably not the best promoting of Star Wars because it seems like it was alienating certain fans.
I disagree,
What
but
a
I get you.
it did. You know, it 100% basically interviews she said she didn't was alienating a big portion of the fan base. Not saying it's not saying that people that hate gays. It's not talking about the gay part. It's just talking
Mm,
about she wanted to bring in outside fans. It's a big common trope that a lot of these studios does, and I don't think it was her initiative. I think it was Disney's initiative trying to bring more fans into Star Wars. It's a lot of studios are doing this. Ends up hurting the fans. Ends up hurting because it ends up not making it. It's how they sold it, and all these interviews made it seem a different experience than what they're expecting. So a lot of people didn't touch it. I think the marketing and some interviews should have went back and redid things, and I think things would have been a lot better. But it is what it is, and the whole people that don't want to touch it, that are afraid because they think this is because she says the gayest part of Star Wars has ever been. I am sorry, Leslie, that's incorrect. We've already had all women witches. We've already had. This isn't really the gayest Star Wars we've had. A lot of the stuff that is gay has already been in Star Wars. So, but I get where she's coming from. But if you're worried about it being woke Star Wars, the parts that are considered woke was already in Star Wars. We've already had that same stuff in Star Wars. So it's like you can't get mad about that part because it's true. Um, I mean, we have one of the most iconic witches that were behind Darth Maul. All women witches, for starters. We go to Ahsoka, all women witches. One of the main characters is a female witch. Believe it or not, when we saw her backstory, she was from a group and ran into another group of all women witches. You don't think that all women being together in a group would have form romantic relationship? You're wrong. It's the same thing that all men, if they were in a group, would do the same. Um,
Again,
it's
historical
different.
reference.
Yeah,
My favorite
yeah.
historical reference of that is the Spartans. If you think manhood has anything to do with not sometimes other men, you don't want to look up the Spartans' history.
So if you're worried about the all lesbian witches, I'm sorry, but they've already been in Star Wars for a while now.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of the
And
funniest things to me because I'm like, there's not even a single moment in that show where I'm like, that was really gay. Like, there's not a single moment. Like, the only thing I
yeah,
could have thought of is maybe there's a brief moment where Osha maybe hits on Jackie, but I don't even think I call it hitting on. I think I just call it she has no friends and wants a friend. But that's literally it.
well,
There's nothing.
even so, like the whole women in power, we've already had women in power. We've already had main women. So this isn't like new. This there's nothing there's nothing new. The only thing I would say, I mean, I can't think of like the whole woke thing though, or the lack of white actors. I mean, we've had a lot of non-white main characters. I mean, it's bound to happen eventually if we already didn't already have a non-white cast, but there was white people in it, so I don't understand that part. Um, yeah, it just there's nothing new, and I get she's trying to sell it because she's trying to again they're trying to attract people outside of Star Wars into Star Wars. That was one of the things that she was saying, but there's nothing that wasn't already in Star Wars. It's like if you like Darth Maul, I'm sorry, he came from a group of lesbian witches. If you don't think the witches of Dathomir are lesbians, you're crazy to not think they were lesbians.
Mhm.
Who are they gonna like? They're not gonna like the men because they basically treat them as tools.
And if you want a
And
canon thing with this, Marin is very bisexual. Yes, she has a thing for Cal, but as a Dathomirian witch, she also has a
yeah,
thing for women. So it's also
I
canon.
well, I mean, there's no way not to say they weren't. I mean, it's
Right. Yeah, like you said.
speculation, but
Yeah,
how
if
I
you
like
leave 26 men on an island for the rest of their lives and tell them that's the only people they're ever going to know, ever, 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 some of them are going to hook up.
and they basically and if you wondered about like the about being sexist, I mean, the Dathomirian witches literally are using men as like test subjects to like do experiments on to make these like tools for them. That's what
Hmm.
Darth Maul is. It's a tool for them. They don't like they view themselves as superior. They made him essentially. They also made his brother, and so they do their cool thing. And
Yeah.
it's
The
and so if you, yeah, it's
So really the only real complaints that like anyone accepts are the ones that we all have. Yes, there was a pacing in this episode that I was like, that's strange. Yes, episode, what was it, like 3 to 4, whichever one it was, or like 4 to 5. The lead up episode to them getting to the stranger having his huge fight and that whole flashback, they could have done it a little weirdly different out of order. They should have done it a little differently. And like, it was too drawn out with them walking through the forest. I'll agree on that. We didn't need to know that much about the bugs. They could
Yeah.
have also just like thrown that in a sec. Like there were some things that I was like, meh, whatever. But guess what? The rest of the show was cool. And it's like, do you really spend your whole life doing the same thing? If you stepped in dog shit but won $100, is your day still terrible because you stepped in dog shit? Like, you'll be okay.
Basically, well, my point was the stuff that people think that they hate about the show before they even get into the show
Isn't
is
there?
already
It's
in their
yeah.
stuff.
It's
It's
yeah.
already in the stuff that you love. Um, you hate female protagonists? Well, don't watch the original trilogy. Don't watch any Star Wars really,
Yeah.
because I don't think of a single one that doesn't have a main female protagonist. Leia is a main female protagonist. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
and guess what? She makes the male characters look stupid quite a bit. Um,
Yep. It's so crazy, and yeah, it's grasping at straws that don't exist. It's searching for excuses to hate something
yeah.
for no other reason than it's new and it's different and that's scary. But we have to get new stuff because we can't. Guys, we're done with the Skywalker saga. We can't keep just regurgitating this shit. So we obviously need new Star Wars, which means we have to get new actors, which means we have to get new writers, which means blah 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 blah. Because you all threw a hissy fit and acted like a bunch of babies and scared away the
And
original guy who you're now clamoring to say is the only one who can save it, even though when he wrote anything, you all did the same thing.
if you want better writers or if you want better storylines, you attacking people isn't going to get
Yeah.
those good stories in.
It's gonna get no
It's not.
stories. Zero.
Yeah, no one's gonna want. I would be surprised if they come with a new Star Wars project and they get actors turning down. I say, hey, you want to be in a Star Wars movie? No, I don't want to be attacked.
Yeah, relentlessly for no reason. Or taken out of the third movie because a marketplace where you have the movie released doesn't like my color of people. Not
See,
saying
let's
anything.
you
Finn.
want to see a great example of the of how things should work and how they work positively. When we got Ahsoka in live action, there were some valid complaints of her Leku and her character design.
Hmm.
And because the fandom said, "Hey, we didn't like this," without attacking the actress, without attacking
Yeah.
the showrunners, they when they had the series of Ahsoka, they fixed it. They
Yeah.
extended her Leku, they fixed her costumes, they made her look better, and they did.
Yep.
That's how things should be done. If you don't like it, positive criticism. Hey, we love the show, or we dislike the show because of this, or I love the show, but I would love if you change this. This isn't right for the character. And next time they put something out, they'll fix it.
Yep.
But if we're just going to attack the actor without any just straight because of how they look or how they are for no valid reason or whatever or condition they have, that's not gonna do anything positive. It's just gonna make actors not want to be, they want, when you're like in school and you get bullied, it sucks.
Yep.
Try getting bullied by millions of people. It's not fun.
And you're not even in school with any of these assholes. You don't even know any of them at all.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, put your opinion down below. What is your favorite upcoming thing for Star Wars? Let's spread some more positivity. What are you most excited for in the upcoming Star Wars universe, be it games, books, movies, anything? Put that down in the comments below, of course, while you're hitting the like and subscribe button. I am, as of right now, still 4 subs away from 500. So we're getting there. Let's keep it going. Have an amazing rest of your evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for stopping by. And as always, may the Force serve you well.
May the force be with you.